So we'll see whether that's going to be a major factor in this game as well. Avril already has locked in that release for Tyrion, so he's going to have that all 3 games in this series. Clearly a jungler that he's very comfortable on and is more than happy to just play limitless amounts of.
Absolutely. Again, you know, almost top tier here for release. So Tyrion picking it up, he's played very well. His pressure in the bot lane was fantastic. Might be more difficult to pick off synergy on this Braum this time round, but Kled and Ashe, which worked so well, I would say, for Sensei, maybe Ashe more than Kled, looking like it's going to be locked in this rotation here. It does give the opportunity for them to really prioritize an AD pick that works well and put pressure onto Ashe, because Ashe, especially if she gets locked up by a Winter's Bite, you know, she is a very immobile AD carry. Maybe Lucian here could be good into Ashe specifically. We know how Monk's played, but I would be more likely to see the Sivir, which I mentioned earlier. This composition shapes up very nicely with Sivir, so I wouldn't be surprised to see Sivir come out once more for Monk. You also contest the pure basic attack late game damage output that Ashe has as a Sivir too. You know, we saw how much damage Monk was doing previously.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm curious to see what this next lock-in is going to be from the likes of Batmani. Actually going for the Rek'Sai, and as well, just going to get Poppy up for level 99 Yordle once again. So both these teams kind of sticking with comfort champions at this point. Rek'Sai obviously going the way of Jungle Tricks. Much less of a flashy jungler than what we've been seeing from him.
But probably more dependable and more versatile in worse situations than Lee Sin is. You know, you have the ability, again, I actually think this is far better. You can lock up Ashe probably more realistically as a Rek'Sai than you could as a Lee Sin. You can be the one to make engages happen. You can be the one to dive in head first without having to worry about what's going to happen on the other end. And honestly, I kind of telegraphed the Poppy from the Braum and Cassiopeia lock-in, because the Cassiopeia was the one thing that was shutting the Poppy down in the last game. You give that over to Nyx, and now Poppy probably is a little bit easier to get onto the Ashe. You only have to worry about one set of slows coming your way. So, again, I feel like Sivir likely now with this composition is going to be the last pick. They know it's safe. They don't have to take it until last pick because the AD has already been locked in for Sensei. So, going to be Tahm Kench and Orianna here.
Yeah. Orianna, a champion that Brixton absolutely adores. He's played countless games on Orianna over the seasons, so he's going to be very comfortable in that mid lane. But a key thing about Orianna is you can be so safe, but also Cassiopeia, a hero that really wants to chase you down, wants to keep on layering on the pressure. Once she gets that one poison, she wants to keep pushing. But Orianna is a champion that's very difficult to actually push into because of the way her damage works. You just place the ball. They can't really walk over it or just risk taking a huge amount of damage themselves.
So Cassiopeia herself is not so good at being the one to make engages happen. She's far better at turning teams that favor hard engage on their head, especially hard engage that commits bodies of the enemy team. So things like Gnar, you know, anything that really commits the entire champion into forming an engage, that's what she's very good at, because she can get out of that situation, turn it on its head, and then chase you down with Rylai's. This kind of composition, you don't have many champions from Sensei that will commit themselves wholly to that front line. Maybe Avril on Kled, maybe Tyrion. Otherwise, you've got Ashe who can look for a hard engage and follow up very nicely with the Orianna. If anyone comes to protect, say, Nyx that gets locked up, you're walking straight into a command shockwave from Brixton.
Yep.
But honestly, I love both compositions. I actually would probably give Batmani a slight favor, just because I think their composition is well-rounded. I think they work very well with Sivir. We saw what Monk could do on Sivir last game. And then obviously, you now give an extra little bit of boost for level 99 Yordle to get to the only target that matters in my eyes, which is that Ashe. You know, I think for him, he will have eyes only for that Archer, and any opportunity to charge them into the wall, get any stun they can, just lock them down every single team fight. And with the Sivir ultimate and with Rek'Sai, that will be a lot easier. My only worry is if they jump into the backline and deal with Ashe, then you're just leaving the rest of the team for Brixton to try and do some work. But if I was going to leave one mid lane champion to try and take on the rest of the team, I would prefer to have Cassiopeia than I would to have Orianna, who is probably strictly more of a bursty control mage. Yes, she can do lots of damage, but again, it relies on those cooldowns of Command Protect, Command Dissonance, whereas Nyx on Cassiopeia, you land some poison, you're going to be layering those Twin Fangs in every single direction.
Yeah, it's very much a different style of mid laner, right? Obviously, it's much more consistent damage coming out from Nyx, but then I would say a stronger amount of control coming out from Brixton. When you do manage to get that shockwave as well as Dissonance off, not only is it a huge amount of damage, but there's no avoiding the shockwave aside from just flashing out of it. Whereas Cassiopeia, you know, you can just look away. Obviously, cleansing things as well, but it's less of a big deal, I suppose. The ultimate, obviously, it is huge if you can land it and actually get those stuns, but it's very easy to dodge those stuns. So I definitely see that in these fights, it's going to be down to the mid laners on who can actually have that biggest impact, because Shockwave, it's an ultimate that's very easy to whiff.
Yeah, the thing about Brixton in terms of who's got better control, pre-Ryalize, Brixton will have better and more reliable control all over the place. Post-Ryalize, I would kind of make it a little bit more level, but probably Brixton's a little bit more impactful on the engage. Whereas Nyx was far more effective on the counter engage and the chase and that kind of thing, especially post-Ryalize. But we saw Ryalize be a second item prioritization for Brixton last game. I don't think Nyx needs to rush it this game. I don't think that's on the cards. I think he can actually afford to go something like tier into Morella Nomicon, then pick up the Ryalize. There isn't really that much threat early on, apart from being picked off by an Ash Arrow. But if you're going to get locked up by an Ash Arrow, then you're probably going to die anyway, unless he's taking Cleanse. We can't obviously see what he's picked up as a summoner right now, but unless he's taking Cleanse, then you know he's going to be dead, and if he gets hit by an Ash Arrow regardless. So I think he can afford to lay off that Ryalize until a little bit later here. But when that Ryalize comes down, you kind of are contesting Orianna in terms of teamfight control quite heavily.
Yeah, absolutely. Would not be surprised in the slightest to see Cleanse coming out from him on Cassiopeia. I mean, especially when you're against things like the Tom Kench, there's a lot of CC comes out from him just from the Tongue Lash alone, and then an Elise Cocoon as well. There's plenty of reasons to go with the Cleanse, I think it is safe to say, for Nyx. But let's talk about the rest of these compositions as well, because we've got a bit of a different bot lane here. I believe it's Ashe Tom Kench versus Sivir and Braum. So we've not seen this matchup specifically tonight. How do you expect that 2v2 to pan out? Because we've seen that actually the Batmani bot lane wants to fight those 2v2s.
I definitely think that the favour still lies with the Braum and Sivir. That 2v2 is very difficult for Ashe and Tom Kench. They'll be very defensive. Tom Kench can take Devour level 1 and just spit minions as much as possible to try and put pressure down early on. But once you get into the realms of the levels foregoing, you end up just that either Ashe is going to soak up the Winter's Bite and take damage, or Tom Kench is going to soak up the Winter's Bite and take damage, and if Tom Kench devours Ashe following, then he just instantaneously becomes a target. He gets locked up. He will have to then be on the retreat. So it just makes it easier for Braum to pick targets, especially if Devour comes through. It is a tough lane for Ashe and Tom Kench. You probably see Grissom mainly play on the defensive here. I think they want to get Inax to the point where, you know, he can become that mega late game carry that he was last game. I expect Tyrion to put a lot of pressure down bot lane again. If he doesn't, then I genuinely think that both Monk and Synergy will run away with it again. But it's going to be far more difficult to make the plays without Alistair this time round. You know, they're not going to be able to make a flash play and just instantaneously blow up Synergy. He's on Braum. He can always then use Stand Behind Me and Unbreakable to just block the damage coming down from Ashe as well. So I think it will be more difficult for Tyrion to have an impact in the bot lane here. I actually think Tyrion might be better placed trying to put pressure onto Nyx on this mid lane, especially, you know, that if pressure's coming out from jungle tricks onto the Orianna, we've talked about this before, Orianna very vulnerable without her flash. So I'm just looking forward to seeing how this pans out.
Yeah, and I've got to say, while obviously they don't have the Alistair to just go for that immediate flash pulverize, that kind of play, they do have a Tom Kench. So while it's not quite that instant snappy hard engage that you've got from an Alistair, if the fight goes on for a little while, it can be easily as strong as the pulverize into headbutt. If you can devour someone, walk them back behind the rest of your team, it's very easy to finish them off at that point.
In a 2v2, you know, Braum might be a target for Ashe slowing him down, and then that allows those stacks to be built up by the Tom Kench, then the Devour comes through after that. I can see that happening, but it's a bit difficult to make that happen without the pressure coming out from Tyrion as well. Genuinely think that both Monk and Synergy be looking to definitely abuse Grissom. It might be harder to abuse Inax in the start. You have a slight range advantage as an Ashe, but definitely abuse Grissom. We're going to just wait for Inax, who hasn't yet connected to the game, so we're just going to wait for him to get in. Not sure quite what happened. Hopefully it won't be too long. We're going to see that lane matchup between Yordle and Averil again this time round. Poppy versus Kled. Didn't seem to go in any one particular favour. Definitely feel like they were toe-to-toe in terms of every sort of lane movement. A little more pressure put by Jungle Tricks up in the top lane rather than Tyrion. I don't think we saw Tyrion put much pressure up top lane at all last game. But he was really focusing on the winning lane, which I think was the most important part. He was really focusing on dealing with that bot lane.
I don't think really either jungler has focused too much on the top lane at all in this series. We've seen a couple of ganks here and there and just a little bit of support, but generally speaking, top lane has, I know it's kind of a meme, been pretty much an island. It has pretty much been that 1 versus 1 scenario, and the junglers, they've really been focusing down towards that bottom side of the map.
It's interesting because we don't often see that much anymore. And there was a time where it was tank versus tank and it would just become an island because it was almost not worth investing resources because it wasn't really going to give you a massive advantage in the game. But now you're starting to see bot lane really become the focus for junglers. Bot lane ganks, that has become the new meme of League of Legends. It's always been, why am I in a 4 versus 2 lane? Because that's genuinely, I think, how a lot of people tend to feel when they play on the losing side in the bot lane. They are the ones that get abused because it's so easy to go for bot lane tower dives as a unit, then consolidate on what has become drakes that have become important again. You know, the balancing on those elemental drakes has really become quite good, and it means that it makes it sensible for teams to try and prioritize bot lane once more and focus down that objective. It's actually when Dragon had originally had that gold taken away, people started to just not bother because you had to get like 5 dragons for it to become useful. So then top lane ganks suddenly became more attractive because, okay, I can make a top lane gank happen, but then who cares if I lose dragon because it's not that impactful. Previously, before that, when dragons were actually worth money, that actually, again, top lane was kind of shied away from because they were like, actually, no, getting that
it's too risky.
Exactly, getting that early swing gold is important for us in the bot lane. And now you're seeing this element of the bot lane objective again. Once again, is becoming important. It's probably more important than Rift Herald in a lot of cases. So focusing bot lane is definitely the key. And top lane, you know, they stray away from it because you don't want to give that much away.
Yeah, absolutely. It looks like ENX has reconnected to the game once again. So we are going to be able to head into this third game in the best of 3 here between Sensei and Batmani begins. Let's see who's going to be able to actually take this one away. In the end, it's Sensei on that blue side once more, and Batmani over on the red side. Now, the first time we saw this tonight with Batmani on the red side, they managed to take a fairly convincing victory against Sensei, and we'll see whether they can repeat that performance or whether it's going to be Sensei grabbing 2 wins on the trot and securing their spot in our next best of 3 against XL.
So we're just waiting. This is a big game for Batmani Begins because it gives them the opportunity to go up against XL, who they have been scrimming. This is something that we talked about earlier. I got those scrim partners wrong and I corrected it eventually, but they have been scrimming XL. Hasn't gone in their favor, but that gives them more of an indication as to what XL might be playing.
It certainly does. And nice little auto attack reset there coming out from Monk just to deal. That is a horrendous emote spam, isn't it? Good God. I can't say I've ever laned against Kled, and to be honest, I'm suddenly glad that I've never laned against Kled. That is just horrendous. But either way, it was a good auto attack reset coming out from Monk to deal with that ward early on. Now, just going to be starting very, very standard. Once again, junglers over towards the top side of the map, and the AD carries and supports will be able to grab their early Krugs and Grump. Yeah,
I've always praised Riot for this change. I know a lot of people don't like Riot enforcing the meta, but I just love to see the classic 2 versus 2s because you often get more of an outplay-orientated style of gameplay than you do in that traditional other lane setup where it's more about your composition and how quickly you can push. I very much like the 2 versus 2 in the bot lane. I always find it to be really interesting to talk about 2 versus 2 matchups and how teams play it. And it looks like Nick's trying to be as aggressive as possible, but Brixton very sensibly taking that shield early on here.
Yeah, absolutely, and it will mean that he can trade very effectively as well for himself. Orianna often does very well in the early trades because of how many auto attacks are used, and that clockwork wind-up passive on Orianna means that the auto attacks will do consistently more and more damage with each consecutive auto attack on the same target.
Look at Inax though, he's putting a lot of pressure onto Synergy and Monk at this point in time. It means that they've taken a lot of damage early on in this lane. They're going to get a slight level advantage here, but Grism will just be able to get to level 2 ASAP after that. And well, I talked about it being a slight advantage for Sivir and Braum. It looks like Inax is really putting a lot of pressure with that range advantage right now.
He certainly is. Well, we are going to see actually Yordle going very aggressive on this one, making the trade happen, uses his shield to his advantage as well. But all in all, these trades between the two top laners going very even, and actually I'd say in terms of sustain, Yordle has a bit of an advantage with that corrupting potion.
Love the vision now coming down for Jungle Tricks. I think the bot lane know that this is going to be a target for Tyron once more. Actually, here we go already.
Yeah, they are going aggressive on this one. Smurf, or Monk, sorry, has been caught up and devoured by Grissom. Can they finish this one off? Tyron is in the bottom lane, but they're looking for Grissom. Smurf is going to be the first one to drop. The Monk has left the temple at this point, and Synergy will go down as it's a double kill for Tyron. Jungle Tricks does get the shutdown gold, but it's not enough to pay the debt of those blood, of the... Nah,
yeah, you tried.
I gave it a good go, guys, but here we go. 1v1 in the top lane as well. Avril versus Yordle. Incredibly close one as well, but here comes Skarl back into the fight. The cowardly little, whatever that is going to actually be able to win out the fight. Avril just about survives.
Oh, what were you doing in the bot lane? You knew that Tyron was going to come down. I think Monk thought he could turn and pick up the kill onto Grissom, knowing he'd probably sacrifice his life, and then Jungle Tricks might be able to make something happen after that. But wow, already out of the gates here for Sensei. A 1 versus 1 in the top lane for Kled versus Poppy, and Yordle already on the back foot. It was a really good pickup to bring that shield, but he knew that he was going to get his Raptor back and get that shield back onto his 1v1, which gave him that slight edge towards the end, and Poppy just caught unawares. Maybe some, again, like you said, lack of experience in terms of the 1v1 matchup.
And I mean, Kled is notorious for his ability to 1v1. Oh, and actually, Jungle Tricks has been spotted out by Tyron, but will be able to tunnel himself to safety. But yeah, realistically, I'm not sure how wise it was for level 99 Yordle to actually try and 1v1 a champion that is kind of designed to duel.
Yeah, he's a fantastic dueler, is Kled, and especially against Poppy early on. You know, Poppy really relies on getting some items behind her and some levels into her Q before she can actually duel effectively. And it's very difficult for Poppy to take early duels that end up being in her favor. So, you know, got caught unawares, and I think, again, like you said, a little bit of lacking experience. Kled can do some deep warding in terms of that red buff again, and a pink ward deep into the enemy side jungle. Very clever stuff coming out from Avril again. It's a joint effort, this team-wide commitment to vision for Sensei. Very important once more. Level 99 Yordle again for Tyron coming through.
Yeah, he's in a bit... Oh, well, I was going to say he's in trouble, but the cocoon doesn't land from Tyron, and that means he's happy to walk away from that one. Basically takes no damage. Tyron doing a fantastic job so far. 2 kills on him already on the Spider. We'll see whether he can continue to snowball that lead. We've already seen in this series that these early leads don't seem to make too much difference between these two teams. It's all been about the mid-game decisions.
This is going to be, I think it's going to be a super important game for XL to be watching, because they could actually see a pattern emerging here for vision control for Sensei. Always around 6 minutes to 7 minutes, you see them move into the enemy red side jungle on the blue side and play some deep wards there, especially Avril doing that himself, just trying to put pressure onto the enemy red buff and get vision control of where Jungle Tricks will be around that 7-minute mark when that red buff respawns. Happens all the time on blue side right now for Sensei. So if you can get control of those patterns that you see emerge, maybe XL will have a little bit of a small advantage walking into the next game if it is Sensei that are the ones that get through here. And with a good early start, they're looking strong.
Yeah, nice little cleanse comes out from Nyx there. Mastery emote to top it all off as well. And that is going to be him walking away, only using a summoner. But it does trade for Brixton's Shockwave. So Brixton will get that cooldown up a lot sooner than Nyx will get his cleanse. Will have flash available though, so Nyx still in a pretty alright situation.
Yeah, and actually trying to clamber back some vision control. Interesting that no one has checked that pink ward on the red side jungle. That I think has been a classic warding place for a lot of this early vision control by Sensei, and no one seems to be clearing that one out. It just means that if should Jungle Tricks ever go for red buff and they're in a position to take Drake, they'll have clear information as to where he is, and they could potentially get Drake off the back of it.
Certainly good. Grissom going to be clearing away a couple of these tunnels down towards bottom side of the map. And actually, double joust coming out from Avril as well, so doing good in these trades against Yordle. And just consistently being able to start them off, landing that tether just about every single time onto his lane opponent. And you can see that Yordle starting to struggle in this matchup now. Almost 20 CS lead built up for Averil once again. And I feel like I'm saying this every single game in the top lane.
Yeah, it's been something that's time and time again Averil has had the advantage in. You see him level that trap on a rope as his first against this Poppy. And you can see time and time again it's getting a good chunk of damage down. That warding has really paid dividends for Tyron, as I think he made an aggressive play into the enemy red side jungle.
Certainly has. Tyron up towards his top side of the map. But Jungle Tricks is there, and I think that's enough for them to decide. A tower dive is not the best idea at this situation. At this juncture, Nyx is in trouble though. Nice little dodge there comes out from Brixton, and he wins out the 1 versus 1. Orianna, not necessarily considered a 1 versus 1 champion, but Brixton makes it work.
He does indeed, but Nyx had the opportunity to flash away there, and that would have been said and done. He tried to turn around with the ultimate, but obviously Brixton just turned his head and he made that play well in his favor. Nyx probably should have flashed though. That was probably a slight misplay on Nyx's part, and it's going to mean that both Tyron and Brixton can put pressure on this mid lane tier 1, and with all of that vision control of the red, I mean, look at that red side vision control from Sensei once again. Honestly, no team has tried to sweep out their vision. No team has kept up in terms of their ability to place. Wow, okay.
Smurf is in trouble in the bottom lane. He's going to get devoured as well. Synergy doing what he can, but Smurf on 1 HP and will get finished off in the end. Inax grabs himself a kill and starts to slow down Synergy. There go the stacks, and that will be the support going down. Double kill goes the way of Sensei. They're starting to rock and roll in this one. 2,000 gold lead.
Well, it was good for Batmani to begin while it lasted, but Sensei looked to have found that second gear that they needed to get to at least, you know, secure that spot that most people thought they were going to take. I'm not counting Batmani Begins out now, but honestly, things that were going well for Batmani Begins looks like they've been turned around in favor of Sensei. This bot lane now going in their favor, despite Monk being on Sivir once more. Top lane well in favor of Averil on this Kled again. Looks like incoming Nyx looking to put pressure onto this bot lane. Flashes aren't available, but I think Tyron should be able to get away.
Yeah, well, actually going to get flashed on and just absolutely obliterated by Nyx. Look at the damage coming out on that Cassiopeia. A kill in the end does go the way of Tricks. And actually, to be honest, with that Hydra, I'd expect a lot of the damage was down to him as well. In the meantime, though, Brixton punishes them for that aggressive rotation and takes the mid lane tier 1.
Yep, and they will get the first turret gold as well, giving them a small advantage. But they will respond for tier 1 in the bot lane. Looks like level 99 Yordle going to go in onto Averil, but can't land that stun. So we'll just go back from the trade.
Certainly will. So 1 tower apiece now for these two teams. But importantly, Brixton managed to get that first brick gold. That first Brixton Hamilton gold for himself. And that also means that with that mid lane tier 1 going down as well, that's a lot of the enemy jungle kind of just opened up for Sensei now.
Yeah, absolutely. Jungle Tricks. They are going to pick up a dragon here, Munchables. And that will again give them a small advantage. Just in terms of, you know, the team that generally has controlled Drake better has always ended up coming out on top in these series. I don't know if that's a correlation that can really be cause and effect, but it's one pattern that we should note, and Dragon Control has come out strong at the start here. Looks like we're going to need to see an ultimate coming through as it's an engage.
Yeah, Monk is just going to get absolutely obliterated there. Brixton as well arrives on the scene. Grissom will be able to eat up Tyron and save his jungler, but 5 people up toward the top lane right now just to finish off this tower, and they will be able to do so. Synergy actually using Glacial Fissure, but to no avail. But here we go, the flank coming on through from Jungle Tricks. Nyx is here as well. There's a shockwave though onto Nyx. Look at the damage, and Brixton just one-shots his counterpart in the mid lane. Jungle Tricks, he's gone in, but there's no one to follow up, and he goes down as well. And Brixton is chasing them away. He's looking for a 1 versus 3 at this point. Does need to be careful, but the rest of his team has just arrived. Averil going in on this one, pulls back Synergy. Brixton looking to finish them off, but here they come with the damage. Brixton tanking the tower blink against the shield at the last second. They are sweeping up this fight. Monk has arrived back in the fight once again, but he just doesn't have the health to play with. Double kill comes through for Averil. Fantastic stuff coming out from Sensei. They are all over the shop. 12 for 2 now with a 7,000 gold lead at just 12 minutes in the game. They've got a minute. They've got a kill for every minute in the game so far.
Batmani begins. Batmani was strong. Batmani fell over. Batmani tilted. That kind of feels how that little process of play had just been spelling out what feels like a long period of tilt for Batmani. They've got a lot of work to do to get themselves back into it. They went to a turret, they tried to defend it 2 versus 4, they didn't expect the dive, which I think, knowing the way that Tyrion likes to play, knowing his aggressive shot calling techniques, was something that I was expecting to see happen coming out from Sensei. And now Batmani begins just really
in the late game, but maybe they won't make it to the late game because Avril is looking for Yordle once again. The stun does come out and actually gets away from the bear trap on a rope in the end.
Look at this pressure coming out from Inax in the bot lane. Going to force the ultimate from Synergy.
Yeah, nice spell shield though comes out from Monk in the end and will save his support's life. Here comes the collapse, and you said Cassiopeia's good at chasing. She's going to do exactly that. Jungle Tricks gets a knock up, gets a couple of kills. There's the petrifying gaze. We said they needed something to get back in. This might just be it, but Brixton is on the scene. It's 3 for 1 so far, and it's a triple kill going the way of Jungle Tricks. Brixton, you've got to get out of here, man, but he's sticking around. He wants to go for this fight. He has a lot of damage at this point, as he already has a needlessly large rod on top of everything else. 402, look at the damage onto Jungle Tricks. He's looking for more, and he gets the shutdown with the Thunderlord's proc in the end. Look at this though, Nyx has arrived on the scene. Brixton fears nothing though.
Oh, Brixton has to be the target right now for Batmani begins if they want to try and win teamfights effectively. They did a really good job of chasing down there, but people running straight into Brixton with a blue buff. He had lots of cooldown reduction, was able to, with the Morellonomicon as well, able to just completely slam damage out, being 3-0-2 at that point and having that needlessly large rod in the back pocket. And they tried to chase onto him with no one that was effectively going to gap close versus an Orianna. She will just kite you for days, much like a Cassiopeia with a Rhyolize will. And speaking of Cassiopeia, not really a first item completed. Looks like Morellonomicon's probably going to be the choice for Nyx, but hasn't...
Oh, look at the damage onto Nyx. That's just a tiny little combo out of Brixton, but it is more than enough damage to force Nyx away once again. And to be honest, the Shockwave, it's really not that long of a cooldown.
No, it looks like 99 Yordle tried to buy as much time as possible in this bot lane tier 2, but she won't last long, my friends, and that bot lane will eventually go down to the members of Sensei. Looks like Jungle Tricks is looking for a flank, but he won't make it happen. And another chunk of gold, nearly amounting 10k at this point in time, goes in favor of Sensei.
I've got to say, over the course of this series, I feel like we've learned a lot about the playstyle of Monk. Because this guy, he seems like the kind of AD carry that if he's winning, he damn sure will win, because he will push that advantage and he is not afraid to be aggressive and to just take any fight he finds an opportunity to.
He doesn't have an off switch.
Exactly. Yeah. It's like, even if he's behind, he still plays that playstyle. And as you can see by the scoreboard right now, it's really not doing him any favors.
No, I mean, you know, just embodiment of his attempt at 1v4ing in that top lane tier 2 just doesn't have the off switch as the AD carry. Sometimes you just need to say, hell, I am so far behind. I just need
It's time to farm.
It's time to farm. It's time to just get to a 4-item Sivir if we can last that long. We've got a Cassiopeia. We can try and wave clear for days.
Yeah. I think a good way to describe it is he's kind of like Season 2 Double Lift. He's like that old school version of Double Lift where it's like, I will try and make the mechanical outplay. Even if it's a risky move and even if it's the wrong move to make, I will try and make that outplay, because on the slim chance that I make it happen, it will be glorious.
Yeah, I look at this top lane as well. Massive advantages over to Avril. He's got that Black Cleaver, so that Sunfire Cape means absolutely nothing for level 99 Yordle. There's no way he can split push against him effectively, and in a team fight, they're going to really struggle to get onto Ashe now at this point in time. They really need to have some of those major, impactful Cassiopeia ultimates coming through, and they need to somehow keep Brixton well out of the fight. I think a lot of it is going to rely on what Synergy can do. Can he combo with Jungle Tricks? Can they lock up Brixton? Because right now, all 100% of the kills for Batmani Begins lie on their jungler in the form of Jungle Tricks, and he's taken it upon himself to say that he needs to continue down a damage path, thinking about that, what I think is going to be a Titanic Hydra.
Yeah, I would assume so there. If he goes for the Ravenous Hydra, I mean, props to him for being brave, but I don't think that's the route to success right now. Going for pure AD Raxai, I think would be just a little bit risky. And with a Poppy on the team as well, you're going to need that kind of off-tank, I suppose, to peel for your AD carry and make sure that as well, he can actually get those flanks. Because if you're a Rek'Sai, you need to be getting those flanks and those engaged for your team. If you just go for damage, you will just get blown up.
Monk now trying to extend his farming advantage in that bot lane. He's going to give away the Rift Herald, but I think that's a given at this point in time. Means that Kled will be able to continue to push against that Poppy. And Monk just extending the CS advantage. One of the major advantages that he's had against Inax during this series has been that CS advantage. And if he can extend that and head towards that late game Sivir that we saw previously, maybe there is a chance for Batmani Begins, but they have not looked as dominant as their game one. Their wave killer is starting to slim off right now. And they are starting to struggle here because obviously it's only an Abyssal Scepter. A good ultimate for Brixton.
There's the shockwave coming on through. Nyx is so low and has to back away from the fight. Yordle is doing a good job to zone though, and Avril has to back away. But Yordle incredibly low as well. Brixton is throwing out so much damage in this fight, and there come 2 kills. Inax and Brixton both grab themselves 1 each, and here comes Brixton, flashes on in for the double kill. And this is one of the most aggressive Oriannas I have seen in the history of UK League of Legends, and now they push down the mid lane. They're looking for an inhibitor tower.
Is this Brixton Hamilton the God?
Brixton the Hamilton.
Is this the fabled Brixton Hamilton that we have been hearing about all of these years?
Maybe it is. Maybe this is his day, because he is absolutely destroying on Orianna. I said it before the game that this is a champion he has played masses of over the years, and he's absolutely proving it right now.
Again, there was another indication of both Jungle Tricks and Monk did not seem to have that off switch. I almost feel like just taking that engage as it was and saying, well, hell, we survived and maybe we forced them off turret was good enough for Batmani Begins at this point. But right now, they don't seem content with that, especially Monk. He wants to get into a position where he just can try and positionally outplay his opponents. I think right now they're setting up for what is going to have to be like some sort of miracle Baron steal coming out from Jungle Tricks to just at least provide them some time to get back into this, because Jungle, Monk just doesn't do the damage he needs to right now. He's 1.5 items, half an item behind his counterpart on Inax. He does just not have the damage needed. Nyx is just miles behind Brixton at this point, who's 7-0-3 with 70 odd CS up.
Yeah, I mean, that mid lane lead is actually obscene at this stage. I'd quite actually like to see how much gold that is. Yeah, oh my goodness, 5,000 gold ahead in a singular lane at 21 minutes. 5,000 gold ahead across the entire team is a good lead at 21 minutes, but that is not enough for Sensei right now. Just the mid laner alone, just storming ahead. I cannot commend Brixton enough at this point in the game. Shockwave will be available as well for this next fight, and they are starting off on Baron.
They're going to have to go straight for it. Shockwave comes through.
Oh my goodness, get deleted, Monk. He didn't even get a chance to use his spell shield. And Nyx just desperately trying to escape. Will get slowed down though, and will be finished off. That's going to be Tyrion that goes in for that kill in the end. And I mean, Yordle didn't even use his teleport there. I think he cancelled it immediately because he realized there was no way that they're going to fight this one. You can see Jungle Tricks. He wants to go for a miracle steal, but Brixton is on the hunt right now. He's going all the way around that Dragon Pit, I believe. Yeah, he is. He's going to continue to chase this Rek'Sai. Look at the damage he can do. That is actually ridiculous at this point. And Jungle Tricks desperately trying to escape.
Yeah, they get the Baron at the same time. I feel like this is lights out for Batmani Begins, and it could be where Batmani finishes as well, because this will be them getting knocked out of the ESL Premiership after what was a storming first game. A bit like XL versus M&M. Storming first game. And then finally have got to a point where they are just getting shut down. Sensei seem to have found their groove. One of the biggest factors, I think, has been Avril on this Kled. He's been almost unparalleled in the top lane. Yordle just hasn't had the opportunity to answer anything that Kled has been throwing at him. He can't 1v1 him. Kled has been more useful in a teamfight situation. And look at that, the BF sword comes out from him.
I've got to say, it's interesting right now that Sensei's vision line isn't further forward. Most of their vision has just been in the river at this point. As I say that, though, immediately Grissom is going to push forwards and start to push that vision into the enemy jungle. Make sure that basically Batmani, they're not allowed to leave the base at this stage.
If XL have a hoping chance against Sensei, although they did beat them, they need to be aware of how good Sensei are at controlling vision. It's been one of the major things that I think has been their winning, redeeming factor. And I think one of the major reasons they've come out with wins so often is that no one seems to be able to contest the amount of vision control that they have at every single point during the game. They invest a lot of resources into making sure their vision is absolutely on point. Also, big credit over to Brixton.
Yeah.
I mean, on this Orianna, he has played out of his mind. He has really schooled Nyx in the mid lane matchup right now. And
you could say that he's newelled Nyx.
Yeah. Nyx is the Newell of UK mid laners right now.
And Brixton, I mean, both of these guys from the Newell as well,
True,
historically. But Brixton, the Hammer Hamilton, doing absolute wonders for his team in this game. And we'll see him pushing on forwards here. Gets a shield up for himself, and they're going to charge on forward. Synergy will be the first one to drop, although Yordle does manage to zone away the mid laner from the enemy team. There's a quad shockwave comes on through. Instant triple kill for Brixton. Yordle gets onto the fountain, but it doesn't matter at this stage. The game is over. Brixton with the hard carry in this matchup. 23-5 is the final score as Sensei put their foot down.